I'm Melody. Welcome to Myanmar Today Review, and this is where we visit the top stories for this week from Myanmar Today. Here are the reports from our reporters from this week. Myanmar, Chinese leaders exchange congratulatory messages on 70th anniversary of diplomatic relations. MOHS to vaccinate its 120,000 healthcare workers against seasonal flu. RTAD resumes its operation. Before we get to the reports, let's take a look at the featured local news from this week. State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi wrote on her Facebook page on Thursday that just as there was nothing as wide-ranging as COVID, there was also nothing as narrow in scope as COVID. Just as it was related to everyone and everything, it was also related to each individual person. This was what she wrote. Quote, just as there's so many things we need to know about COVID prevention, there are a lot of things that the people wish to know. As half-baked fake news float around all over the place, as far as possible, we try to discuss from many points of view. Getting people's participation needs to be based on their understanding and comprehension. Only then will it have potency. When I think of all the things I want to say, there are so many. My father said this in one of his speeches. He said there were so many things he wanted to say about politics. He said, there's so many in my stomach, I am full of it. Now I fully understand that there will always be a great deal to say about politics. This COVID issue is also politics. It concerns the whole country. It is a huge issue for the country. We cannot compartmentalize and think this is health, this is social affairs, and this is economics. We need to view all of these things like politics as a huge political challenge. We need a lot of cooperation. End quote. A coordination meeting for the National Tourism Guidelines for COVID-19 Safe Services was held at the Ministry of Hotels and Tourism in Naypyidaw on Thursday. Union Minister Mound said the tourism industry came to a halt after entry into the country and flights were suspended due to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. The union minister said the next step would be reopening pagodas and museums to restart domestic tourism. He said they wish to start a regional travel bubble with Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam that are presumed to be able to contain COVID-19 to a certain degree, and showing domestic tourism is ready for COVID-safe travel. The union minister said they're preparing for adventure tourism such as hiking, canoeing, rafting, bungee jumping, and zip lining in Myanmar's natural environments to attract quality travelers. He said they have formed the Sports Tourism Committee, which is cooperating with MOHS to produce the Adventure Tourism SOP. And I believe it's time now for our first report. President of the Republic of the Union of Myanmar, Win Myint, and President of the People's Republic of China, Xi Jinping, exchanged messages of congratulations on the occasion of the 70th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between two countries. Chinese ambassador to Myanmar, Mr. Chen Hai, stated an article titled, Carry forward the fine traditions of the past 70 years, build a China-Myanmar community with a shared future. In Global New Light of Myanmar and People's Daily Newspaper of China on Monday.
Win Myint, President of the Republic of the Union of Myanmar, and Mr. Xi Jinping, President of the People's Republic of China, exchanged messages of congratulations on the occasion of the 70th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between two countries, which fall on 8 June 2020. State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi also exchanged messages of congratulations with Mr. Li Keqiang, Premier of the State Council of the People's Republic of China, on the same occasion. Sharing over 2,200 kilometers borderline, Myanmar and China have long and close relationship known as Baopo friendship. Myanmar-China diplomatic relation will mark its 70th anniversary on the year 2020 since it was first initiated in 1950. Within 70 years of the diplomatic tie, the two neighboring countries always keep a good relation, understanding the importance of each other and working on strategic cooperation in order to ensure win-win situation for political and economic growth. Today, Chinese government has generated the China-Myanmar Economic Corridor as a vital part of its huge economic project, the Belt and Road Initiative. In 2016 August, State Councillor Daw San Suu Kyi traveled to the China, which marked her first trip to a foreign country outside of the ASEAN. And also, the Chinese President Xi Jinping gave a visit to Myanmar with the aim to strengthen the friendship between Myanmar and China. The following are views and opinion from some of the prominent figures speaking to MI Radio about the commemoration of the 70th anniversary of the diplomatic relation between Myanmar and China. Speaking to MI Radio, U Se Wen said,
တရုတ်နဲ့မြန်မာနဲ့ဆက်ဆံရေးဟာပထမတော့ကတော့အစိုးရချင်းချင်းဆက်ဆံတဲ့လုပ်ငန်းကိုသူသိရှိလာများလုပ်ဖြစ်ကြတယ်။နောက်တစ်ခါကျတော့တပ်မတော်ချင်းချင်းဆက်ဆံတဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့ပြည်သူချင်းချင်းဆက်ဆံရေးဆိုပြီးတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့က
In the relation between Myanmar and China, we have the bilateral diplomatic relationship of the government to government, military to military, and public to public. Since in the era of Prime Minister U Nu, Myanmar and China live together in peace and keep developing in economy, education, health, and other social works. And China has always stood on the side of Myanmar in international matters. The BRI project is also intent on the economic development and peace of the countries, including Myanmar. Just after BRI, the transportation between countries is going to be better and tourism sector will grow noticeably. Then the relationship between Myanmar and China will be friendlier.
Moya Uwangshe spoke to MI Radio about his opinion.
တရုတ်မြန်မာချစ်ကြည်ရေးကကျွန်တော်တို့လည်းသမိုင်းတွေကိုလေ့လာတဲ့အခါကျတော့တကယ်ကိုနှစ်ပေါင်းထောင်နဲ့ချီကြာခဲ့ပြီဗျချစ်ကြည်ရှိခဲ့တာလေ
Actually, the relation between Myanmar and China has started for thousands of years ago, and we are sharing over thousands of kilometers borderline. Swemyo Pao relation cannot be cut off. The public from both of the country have never seen as enemies. And in the wake of COVID-19, the friendship did not cease and offer much mutual assistance. The most important thing is that the peace process of Myanmar will not be complete without any assistance of China. President Xi has promised to help in this regard. We hope Myanmar-China friendship is going to last from 70 years to many thousands of years.
Chinese ambassador to Myanmar, Mr. Chen Hai, stated an article titled Carry Forward the Fine Traditions of the Past 70 Years, Build a China-Myanmar Community with a Shared Future in the newspaper Global New Light of Myanmar and People's Daily Newspaper of China on 8 John. In the article, Mr. Chen Hai resumed many good results of the two countries that took place in various sectors, including political development, during the 70-year period of Myanmar-China diplomatic relation. I am Jyoti Ritu. This is news reporting from MI Radio.
That's the report on Myanmar. Chinese leaders exchange congratulatory messages on 70th anniversary of diplomatic relations. More than 120,000 health workers will be vaccinated against the seasonal flu by spending the government's budget. Children under the age of 5, adults 65 years and older, pregnant women, patients with chronic illnesses, and healthcare workers are more likely to suffer from seasonal flu severely. Among them, the health workers are the frontliners in the fight against from COVID-19 to seasonal influenza. The vaccination period has begun in places like Naypyidaw, and it will be completed during the early rainy season.
Since 2010, the seasonal influenza has been reported many countries around the world, including Myanmar, every year with a number of death cases. From 2017 to 2019, the rate of the seasonal flu has increased significantly and has become epidemic. Worldwide, these annual epidemics are estimated to result in about 3 to 5 million cases of severe illness and about 290,000 to 650,000 respiratory deaths. In 2019, the Ministry of Health and Sports undertook the preparation for preventive measures and response to the seasonal influenza within the third week of June. The surveillance measures for seasonal influenza were carried out in 8 hospitals as sentinel sites. During 2019 June, the Ministry of Health and Sports found 117 cases of seasonal flu with 20 cases of death. Speaking to Emma Radio about preparation for preventive measures and response to seasonal influenza, Dr. Tan Naiso, Director of Health Knowledge Promotion Division from the Ministry of Health and Sports, said.
H1N1 ကာဝယ်ဆေးထိုးဖို့ပေါ့နော်နိုင်ငံတော်ရဲ့ဝင်နေပေါ့နော်ကျန်းမာရေးဝန်ထမ်းပေါင်း1,200,000အတွက်ကျွန်တော်ရထားတာပေါ့နော်အဲ့ဒါကို
More than 120,000 health workers will be vaccinated against the seasonal flu by spending the government's budget. Each vaccine costs $4. This is just for the drug without totaling shipping costs. Children under the age of 5, adults 65 and older, and pregnant women, patients with chronic illnesses, and health workers are more likely to suffer from seasonal flu severely. As the health insurance system is not well developed in our country, it is costly to vaccinate all 5 of these risk groups for the government against seasonal flu. On the other hand, the health workers are the frontliners in the fight against from COVID-19 to seasonal influenza. The vaccination period has begun in places like Naypyidaw and it will be completed during the early rainy season.
Dr. Sidule, who is a specialist from the Walkers Hospital, spoke to Emma Radio about the challenges the health workers face on the case of seasonal flu, why the worldwide pandemic has caused due to a newly discovered coronavirus.
Both the seasonal flu and coronavirus diseases are respiratory diseases with the same infectious mode, and also the symptoms of these diseases are quite similar. Apparently, it is a bit challenging for health workers in diagnosing. But there are also some sorts of symptoms of COVID-19 which are different from seasonal flu. From the side of the public, they can barely know what they are suffering is just seasonal flu or COVID-19. So they can confuse whether they should go to hospitals for treatment as soon as they have cough or fever. As the consequences, the National Health Laboratory has to test more swab tests for diagnosis. One advantage we get from coronavirus infection is that the public have widely known the preventive measures of infectious diseases. These preventive measures can stop not only the coronavirus but also diarrhea and seasonal influenza if the public can strictly follow the preventive instructions.
Speaking to Emma Radio about how her family follows the healthcare instructions and going to clinics and hospitals during flu season, McKinley Nwe, a resident of Yangon's Tanlian Township, said. My family is still fit and free from any fever or flu till now. We are all the time listening to the instructions on healthcare from the government. We are staying at home and following the precautions as much as we can. If there were symptoms similar to COVID-19, we would go to the hospital. Thailand is a bit far from the downtown of Yangon, so we barely go to the clinics. We are never vaccinated against the seasonal flu. But if one of my family members suffers the symptoms similar to COVID-19, we are going to the hospitals immediately.
ဒီအချိန်မှာကတော့ခန္ဓာမဲထောင်းဆိုးမယ်ပေါ့နော်။နောက်ပြောတဲ့လက္ခဏာတွေရှိလာမယ်။ဒါဆိုရင်ဒီလက္ခဏာတွေကတစ်ဖက်ကပြန်ကြည့်နေကိုဗစ်လက္ခဏာတွေနဲ့လည်းဆင်တယ်ပေါ့နော်။ကျွန်တော်တို့ကအကောင်းဆုံးအကြံဉာဏ်ပေးရရင်တော့
It is important that a person experiences the symptoms like cough, which is similar to the symptoms of the COVID-19. The best advice for this is to go to the respective fever clinics sooner than a nearby medical center. At the fever clinic, There will be doctors who can diagnose your symptoms, such as vigil or H1N1. The fever clinics are where the standard operating procedures are followed. But if the guests have to go to the nearest hospital, the patients should inform any contact with the travel history. Only then we can avoid the infection of the disease to health workers. At least the swab test for someone who lives in high-risk areas will be carried out.
I am Jyoti Ritu. This is news reporting from MI Radio.
That's the report on MOHS to vaccinate its 120,000 healthcare workers against seasonal flu. Moving on to the third report. After 2 months of its enclosure, Road Transport Administration Department of Yangon Region started operating from Monday. But as it is open after 2 months amid COVID-19, there is a huge number of applicants coming on the first day. But to cope up with the number of applications coming in each day, RTAD is extending the working hours, and it is also reported that the offices across Yangon will be open on Saturday till the end of September. Willison has the full report.
The Road Transport Administration Department, which halted its operation from the end of March, now comes to its full operation from 8th of June as the second phase. For the first phase, it started to receive the application for registration from 11th of May through its 4 different registration offices across Yangon. And now from 8th of June, it is finally open for its full operation of the work in registration, extension of the license, and other related works. However, resuming the work after 2 months of closure is a challenge to the Road Transport Administration Department, especially managing the clients which is queuing in a big number at the same time. It has to make sure that the clients follow rules and regulation by practicing social distancing to prevent further infection of the virus. Dr. Min is the Assistant Director of RTAD for Yangon region, and she spoke to MI Radio about reopening of the department, and she said,
For the vehicles, today we have around 720 forms for transferring the ownership. So we usually have to complete the work for these numbers, and we do it phase-wise, divided into 4 phases. Each phase will take an hour and complete 200 applicants. But when it comes to licensing the vehicles, we did not have online application system, which is why a huge number of people gathered there for the license. However, soon at the best, we must open online system for licensing as well. Otherwise, we will not be able to control the clients, which might bring unwanted outcomes. But it is still in the process of submitting it to the regional head. The main work we are doing here for now is to extend the license, but as there is no online registration form for license, we are doing it as many as we receive in a day.
In order to cope with this huge number of applicants each day, the Road Transport Administration Department is extending working hours in most of the main offices across Yangon. And Dr. Min also said that the office will be open on every Saturday till the end of September. It is also learned that even if there is a certain amount of fine that applicants are required to clear during the months of April and May, they are giving the deadline till the end of July. Go Zhengyi is one of the applicants who came to the office on the first day to extend the license of transfer vehicle and spoke to MI Radio and said,
There are some issues in getting all the works done, especially as there are so many things that we have to go through and there is a long queue in the line. As this is the first opening day in around 2 months, we have a huge number of people rushing over. As it is not long ago, we started the online registration system. When we filled the forms through online registration system, there were quite some errors in that, but overall, I'm grateful that the arrangements are done by this department amid COVID-19.
Go Zhao is also another client who came to extend his license, and he spoke to MI Radio.
အရင်ကတည်းဆိုင်တော့ကြားတယ်ဗျကျွန်တော်တို့တနားရီခွဲနီးနီးလောက်တန်းစီရတယ်မတည့်ရပြီတန်းစီရတယ်
Compared to the previous time, it is taking quite a long time. I was standing in the queue for more than an hour, but we understand the situation as this work is being carried out after 2 months and amid COVID-19. But if we have much bigger space where a bigger number of applications can be handled in a short time, it will be much more convenient for the clients. And another issue is there are some people who would come with more than 3 to 4 applications. Not sure whether that is their old paperwork or they are doing it for someone else, but if there is a rule where one person can only have one application, then I think that would be fair.
This is Williamson for MI Radio.
That's a report on RTAD resumes its operation. Now to international news. Chinese President Xi Jinping on Friday sent a message of condolences to Burundi's president-elect Evariste Ndayishimiye over the passing of President Pierre Nkurunziza. On behalf of the Chinese government and people, and in his own name, Xi expressed deep condolences over the death of Nkurunziza and extended sincere sympathies to his family and the Burundian people. Xi said during his lifetime, President Nkurunziza was committed to promoting the traditional friendship and political mutual trust between China and Burundi, and made important contributions to the in-depth development of the all-weather partnership between the two countries. President Xi added his death was not only a major loss for the Burundi people, but also a major loss for the cause of China-Burundi friendship. China cherishes the friendship between the two countries and is willing to continue to work together with Burundi to promote the in-depth development of friendly cooperative relations between the two sides and better benefit the two countries and the two peoples. The Time magazine website ran an opinion article on Wednesday as the George Floyd protests swept the nation. Another tragedy is unfolding as the U.S. just reached a milestone that the COVID-19 death rate has now passed 340 per million residents, just over 100 times the rate in China. Now the U.S. has the most COVID-19 cases and the most deaths of any country in the world. The two hardest hit states have been New York and New Jersey. And in the United States, at the same time, has the highest number of new cases and new deaths every day, even when controlling for population size. On the other side of the globe, China, where first case of coronavirus was reported, and the Trump administration claims the blame should lie for letting the pandemic get out of hand, has already reined the tide of the virus and kept the death number at 4,645, even as the data shows that the U.S. has about 2.5 million cases and 114,000 deaths as of Saturday. The Times says that there is a little sign that the federal government is mounting the kind of urgent, nationwide, coordinated approach that is needed to reverse current trends. The COVID-19 pandemic hasn't prevented wars from happening in conflict-ridden areas. The International Committee of the Red Cross said the pandemic is having an impact on some of the region's most vulnerable people, many of whom are already living in hand-to-mouth conditions. Across the Middle East, millions already live with little or no health care, food, water, and electricity. Coupled with the volatile cost of living and the nearly paralyzed infrastructure, they are gravely suffering from the impact of the pandemic. Jacques Pellet said the main challenges the ICRC has been trying to overcome for many decades are still here. Traditional humanitarian actions like providing access to clean water and dignified management of dead bodies are still part of the ICRC's response to the pandemic. But the most important work is prevention. Jacques Pellet, who's the head of the ICRC East Asia delegation, said they've been procuring a lot of essential equipment from China. China is one of the main sources for them to procure personal protective equipment, medical devices, and other equipments. He added they can see China's been very active in sending medical teams to help countries all over the world, and they have their teams in the field, so they need to connect. He added he thinks this crisis is an opportunity for China and the ICRC to work much closer. Pallet also calls for China to increase funding support to the organization. That's all with the news and reports on Myanmar Today Review. Tune in every Saturday on MITV at 8:30 p.m. for Myanmar Today Review. Until next time.